All right, some more review questions. Let's get rocking on these. This one you did already. Let's go through it a second time. I think it's worth doing twice. Okay, so we know that the opposite sides are congruent. We know the opposite sides are parallel, and that sets up alternate interior angles. And we can look at the diagram now that we've used up all the given, right? We always want to use up all the given before we look at the diagram. And we see vertical angles. What is this? Well, I could see a student thinking it might be ASA or AAS. Fortunately, there's only one choice there, AAS, so it has to be that choice. But more to the point of knowing the difference, this side is not between the two angles. It's the angle, then the side. So AAS is the correct answer. Go ahead. Okay, so angle X pairs up with angle C, so that means together they add up to, or I should say angle X is 88, and then if I add up the 88 and the 32 in the triangle on the left, I get 120. And I know this says 180 equals 120. It should say 180 minus 120 equals 60. So 60 is the correct answer. Time for a little is to big here. Go ahead. Okay. Little is to big as little is to big. Country western version right there. Okay, so the side 6 pairs up with the side 30, and the side 8 pairs up with the AC side that we're looking for. Call it X. So 6 is to 30 as 8 is to X. The side of little triangle 6 is to the corresponding side of the big triangle 30, as the side 8 of the little triangle is to the corresponding side of the big triangle X. Cross multiply, 6x equals 240, right? 6 times x equals 6x, and 8 times 30 is 240. Dividing by 6, x is 40. If 0.25 is reflected through the origin, its image will be point. And we've got negative 2, 5, negative 2, negative 5, 2, negative 5, and 5, negative 2. Now, a point reflection is the same as a 180-degree rotation. So you might remember xy becomes negative x, negative y with a rotation of 180 rule. Or you could do the rotation of 90 twice. Or you could do what I think is the preferred way, which is to graph it and count down 2 over 5. So you go down another 2 over another 5, and you get choice 2, negative 2, negative 5. Okay, so what I notice here is that these two angles are alternate interior, or I can notice they're both acute, which means they have to be equal, or I can notice if I did drag and drop, the 6x would land vertical to the x plus 15, making them equal. So 6x is equal to x 15. X plus 15. Subtract x from both sides. 5x is 15. X is 3. Okay, now, this is a situation where we have an exterior angle, and it's going to equal the sum of the two remote interior angles. So the remote or far away interior angles are 71 and 5x minus 7. So if you add those up, you've got to get the 14x plus 1. A little same side cleanup here. Combining like terms, 71 and negative 7 is 64. Always start with the smaller number of x's, subtracting 5 x's from both sides. 64 is 9x plus 1. There we go. 64 is 9x plus 1. Subtracting 1 from both sides, 63 is 9x. Dividing by the 9x is 7. Oddly enough, that one was not one where they came in one line at a time. That was why I was clicking away, and I should not have been. So I think that segment AD was put in there to confuse you. The bottom line is this angle here, where they put the x in and the 3x plus 20, are consecutive interior angles of parallel lines. So you know that they have to add up to 180 degrees. So 3x plus 20 plus the x is 180. Simplifying, 4x plus 20 is 180. Subtracting 20, I get 4x is 160. Dividing by 4, x is 40. Next up, parallelogram cars. Measure of angle C is 5x minus 20, and the measure of angle A is 3x plus 48. Find the value of x. And we always say to begin with a diagram, and just in case we haven't mentioned it, it doesn't matter where you put the C. It just matters that once you have the C planted, and once you have, or assign it to a vertex, and once you start going in a direction to A, that you keep going in a direction and don't skip any places. Okay, that's how you have to label a quadrilateral or a triangle or anything like that. Go ahead. Okay, so you notice that C and A are next to each other, which means together they are the consecutive interior angles. So 5x minus 20 plus the 3x plus 48 has to equal 180. Getting all of my x's together, that's 8x plus 28 is 180. Subtracting the 28 from both sides, 8x is 152. Dividing by 8, x is 19. Okay, so whenever I join the midpoints like D and E, I create a segment that's parallel to the third side of the triangle, namely BC, and half as long. So if BC is 38 in this diagram, it says 34 up there, but if it's 38 as it appears in the diagram, DE will be 19. So now we've progressed to the point where we're going to talk about the last lesson's material. Go ahead. Okay, so angle ACB is an inscribed angle located on the circle. It's not our exception. So the measure of the angle is half the measure of the arc. Half of 90 is 45. Like before, I had misread this. Let's not assign the 10 to angle R. Let's be clear about this. Let's assign the 10 to segment JP, or arc JP. So one more time, the 10 is assigned to arc JP, okay? Go ahead. Okay, so the angle's outside the circle, so the measure of the angle is half the difference in the arcs. The measure of the angle is 1/2 of 70 minus 10, which is half of 60, which is 30. And our last review of part of the lesson from last week. Okay, so the measure of the angle inside the circle is half the sum of the arcs. Which arcs? Well, it's going to be half the sum of the arc intercepted across from the 50 and also its vertical angle backside, which was 10. So the angle's inside the circle. The measure of the angle is half the sum of the arcs. The measure of the angle is 1/2 of 5x plus 10. So the measure of the angle, which is 50, is going to be half of 5x plus 10. And I always like to get rid of the half by multiplying both sides by 2. So it should be 100 equals 5x plus 10. Let me correct that. Change the number this time. Oop. Oop. An emergency situation again. As we said, the angle's inside the circle, so it's half the sum. The sum of what? Well, the arc across from the 50 and the arc across from its vertical component, which is 10. So the measure of the angle is half 5x plus 10. So 50 is 1/2 of 5x plus 10. Doubling it, 100 is 5x plus 10. Subtracting 10, 90 is 5x. Dividing by 5, x is 18. And I apologize for the dogs barking. Unfortunately, I actually recorded this video before, just about all of it. And then my wife called loudly, so I couldn't just ignore it on the video. One of our dogs had a tick, and then now a couple of deer are walking across the property. So if you hear the dogs bark, the deer are walking across the property, you'll know what the deal is.